I am Grace King. I'm a reporter with WBIR Channel 10 in Knoxville. This is my colleague Brad Broders. He's a reporter with Local 24 over in Memphis. And we're here today to answer your vaccine questions and talk about how things are going across the state. So Brad, do you want to start off just what's going on in West Tennessee?
Well, it's been a very busy week, Grace. As you know, on Monday, Governor Bill Lee, as well as the state health commissioner, Dr. Lisa Piercy, announced that the state would be moving by April 5th to allowing the vaccine to anyone 16 or older across the state. Now, that happened at different times. I'm hearing a lot of reverb. Is that a problem?
I am not entirely sure.
I've never heard my voice back like that. Sorry, we're dealing with the.
Well, says to keep going.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep going. Well, on Tuesday, yesterday in Shelby County, they announced that appointments for those 16 and up would be go out on Friday. They're expecting about 10,000 more in supply going into about the Easter weekend, which would get Shelby County over the targeted goal. There are about 40,000 total now between the fixed and the pop-up sites, as well as the pharmacies, the community clinics. By Easter or so that week, they're hoping to get more than 50,000 total doses per week, which will help get them closer to the goal of 700,000 total doses by August 1st. They hope by the first week of April, they'll have 300,000 doses. So essentially 4 months to get 400,000 doses into arms. As for West Tennessee, the rural counties surrounding Shelby County, which is the most populated county in the state with Memphis as its anchor, yesterday, the Tipton County Emergency Management Office announced that all counties in West Tennessee would be opening up appointments to anyone 16 or older, essentially effective immediately. Dr. Piercy, the Tennessee Health Commissioner, alluded to that earlier on the news conference on Monday, saying expect the more rural non-metro counties to make an announcement Tuesday or Wednesday. So here we are. And what's going on over on the east side of the state with Knoxville trying to get
Like you had mentioned, Brad, Dr. Piercy said, expect a substantive number of counties to move to 16 plus much earlier than April 5th. So we got that announcement today. The 15 counties surrounding Knox County are effective immediately in that 16 plus phase, meaning really anyone can get that vaccine. We haven't heard a decision from Knox County yet, but they tend to follow those other counties. So we're just waiting to see what they have. But as supply increases, they are opening it up in part because of uptake issues that the state kept mentioning. They had expected some hesitancy among lower income and minority groups. What they hadn't, Dr. Piercy said, expected was hesitancy among rural conservatives. She said the phrase, that surprised us some. We're trying to work with those groups, figure out how to get people, convince people that, this vaccine is safe, it is effective, it will take us through to the light at the end of the tunnel. So opening it up is a good thing, but in a way, it became kind of a necessity in those rural counties. Have you guys seen any of those issues in West Tennessee as well?
We have. In some of the West Tennessee counties, Dr. Piercy alluded to places like Tipton, Lauderdale, Fayette, etc. She didn't name specific counties, but counties in West Tennessee like that. Some of those counties were reporting only 20% of appointments filled. She said some counties north of Nashville in the Cumberland area were more like 80% of the rural counties. So it's affecting different pockets of the state differently, but in West Tennessee, it's certainly an issue. And it's even an issue in Shelby County. I mean, one of the reasons that could have maybe waited another week technically before they opened it up to 16 and older to meet that April 5th sort of guideline. However, the chief operating officer of the city of Memphis, who's overseeing the vaccine distribution, said we had seen as high as 10% of no-shows. We tried to fill back some of those slots late in the day, but still there were unfilled doses that could have gone into arms. Now, obviously, they went back safely to be used again, but still that was a problem. And it's not just broader. About 2/3 of women in Shelby County have been vaccinated compared to just 1/3 of men. So that the gender gap is continues to be something that kind of jumps out at you statistically. So that's going to be one of the reasons that they're going to roll it out on Friday for appointments for 16 and older. Now, there are a couple of caveats with that. I asked about this yesterday during the Tuesday briefing in the city of Memphis and Shelby County. If you're 16 and 17, presumably you're still in high school, you still have to get parental consent on the online form. And when you go to get the shot, you still have to be with that parent and present the consent form. Also, right now, the only vaccine that is allowed to go into the arms of 16 and 17-year-olds is the Pfizer vaccine. So there's a couple caveats with that. I did speak with a parent of a high schooler in a suburb just outside of Memphis. She was really excited about this opportunity. We'll see how many other parents share that enthusiasm, because the more parents that are enthusiastic about getting those 16 and 17-year-old children vaccinated, that will help in the big picture of eliminating vaccine hesitancy and improving participation. Any similar kind of details you're seeing in the East Tennessee?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, of course, the Pfizer vaccine, that's a national decision. 16 and 17 is that's the only one authorized for 16 and 17-year-olds. We also, one thing Dr. Piercy said is, hopefully sometimes it just takes other people getting the vaccine. So, maybe if your mom or your friend gets the vaccine, you might be a little bit more willing to get the vaccine. So when we start to see, maybe those teenagers will start pushing for it and say, hey, I want things to get back to normal. Mom, can I get the vaccine? That might help, encourage more people. Another thing I did yesterday, I spoke with some community leaders here in Knoxville who are working on getting information out in kind of a unique way. Instead of just broadcasting it to everyone like we do, they're really working with the pastors to give the information to their congregations. They're working with, the mayor of this small town to be the one telling people this information, because people have their trusted messengers. They look up to those people that they trust. So as we see more people getting vaccinated, they're hoping that uptake will increase, that the enthusiasm surrounding the vaccine will increase just by word of mouth, and just looking at, if Miss Johnson got the vaccine, maybe I should get the vaccine too. And from the people I've talked to who've been able to get vaccinated, some of them get to reunite with their grandkids or meet their grandkids for the first time. So it's wonderful to kind of hear all those stories and see all of that happening. So hopefully this 16 plus announcement will help Tennessee move along. They also, if you look at the map of all the states in the US, Tennessee is almost near the bottom in terms of who has actually been vaccinating people the fastest. So hopefully by expanding eligibility, we won't have, only 20% of appointments filled in parts of the state, and hopefully they'll be able to get that up.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Grace, we're doing this on Facebook Live. Have you seen any questions from anyone that might emerge that we can maybe help them out with? We're happy to answer any questions if any viewers have any out there.
I am not seeing any questions on here, but one question I got yesterday on Twitter was, is the state going to start looking at where it's allocating vaccines based on uptake, and just seeing how that plays out? Dr. Piercy did allude to that in the call a little bit. In some areas, she said there is vaccine just kind of sitting on shelves because they aren't filling those appointments. So that is something that they're looking at, is, where are we allocating vaccine? If more people are going to more places, that's where the shots are going to start to be, just because they don't want it sitting there on a shelf if you're not using it. They really shouldn't be getting more until it kind of continues to cycle through.
Certainly. And certainly, to follow up on that, Grace, yeah, certainly there's a real laser focus approach on they're able in Shelby County to really determine and figure out which zip codes are getting more, and every week, every Wednesday, so they'll be doing it today on this Wednesday, they really hone in on 10 zip codes that are really underserved and lower participation, and they're doing what they call these pop-up pod sites, and so they're going to specific zip codes and really bringing the vaccine to them to help alleviate any hurdles. They're also last week beginning to take appointments for those who are homebound, and I spoke with a mother of a 41-year-old who suffered a traumatic brain injury, and he's homebound, and they're able to use firefighters, Memphis firefighters, who are also EMTs. They have the experience to administer vaccine doses, so they're going directly into households and vaccinating those homebound population. They're also going to work with the homeless community as well. So there's really a laser focus on making sure that certain populations in certain zip codes get that vaccine.
Yeah, that's going to be super important. Everyone 16 and up is eligible now. Of course, the Tennessee kind of had a three-tiered plan. It was phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but they kind of skipped over phase 3. But they said they're going to be allocating vaccine directly to those groups. So that includes people like grocery store workers. So they can say, you know, everyone at this store this day will be able to vaccinate you, or people who live in congregate living settings. It's easier to get those people together as a group, kind of like they did with teachers and first responders and healthcare workers. They're going to be opening separate pods so that they won't have to be fighting, you know, the general population if the demand is there for those appointment spots. So that's another thing we're definitely watching. I'm seeing one question, Brad. It says, what's the difference in vaccinations in the 3 different vaccines? Do you want to just kind of give a brief overview of that real quick?
Yeah, in terms of the efficacy, the Pfizer and Moderna, which are both 2-dose vaccines, both of those have, and I might be apologize, I don't have the exact percentages in front of me, but the efficacy for those are 90-some%. The Johnson & Johnson, which is a 1-dose vaccine, I believe that was a little lower, more 70%. However, they've also pointed to the fact that Johnson & Johnson, against significant illness or death, it's still very high. I mean, that's the whole point. You don't want you want to be protected against serious illness and, of course, death. And a lot of people also don't remember that every year most people get a flu shot. Some years the flu shot efficacy is only 40 to 50%. So these all 3 of these vaccines have proven to be stronger and more effective than the typical flu shot. Also, another issue is the variant strains, including the one that originated in the United Kingdom. That's more on the rise in strains found through sequencing. You all obviously have the home hub of the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, but here in Memphis, we have the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, and they've one of 12 biocontainment labs in the country that are really, really fancy and really able to really sequence and figure out which strains are linked to positive samples. Now, they don't do it for every positive sample, but they take a batch of positive samples and run it through the sequencing, and that's where they're finding more and more of these positive cases are linked to these variant strains. However, the vaccine has been proven to be effective against that variant, which originated in the UK. It's 3 times as contagious, and they believe about 30% potentially more deadly. So that's good news on the vaccine front.
For sure. I hope that helped answer your questions. Yeah. All of these are safe. All of these are effective. So get whatever shot is available to you first. We have another question from Ryan who says he had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Should you get a Pfizer dose too? No, you just need one vaccine, and they're not. You don't want to mix and match the different vaccines. Johnson & Johnson is 1 dose. That 1 dose kind of does the job, just as 2 doses of Pfizer or 2 doses of Moderna. So there's no reason to
follow
mix that. Mm-hmm.
Sure, and to follow up on that, Grace, Dr. Pierce has mentioned this multiple times in recent weeks. If you're living in a more rural county surrounded by one of the metro cities like Knoxville or Memphis, you're probably more likely to be more Johnson & Johnson vaccines will go to those areas because unlike Pfizer and Moderna, there's not as much cooler, refrigerator, freezer monitoring compared to, the Pfizer and Moderna have more freezers, and in more the major cities in Tennessee, they have more infrastructure in the hospitals to be able to store that a little more effectively. So if you live in a rural county, you're probably more likely to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. At least that's the goal in the weeks ahead. They're still sort of ramping up the supply that they expect to come to Tennessee.
Well, I think that's it for us for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, you can, of course, reach out to us through the WBIR Facebook page or the same for 24, and our website, WBIR.com, and the 10 News app. Brad?
This has been great. Yes, we are on localmemphis.com. We also have a number on our website that you can text, and it will provide all the COVID vaccine information. Because obviously we're Memphis, so we're bordering both Arkansas, Mississippi, and we're in Tennessee. So all the information across the Mid-South, we have it on our website, localmemphis.com. And you can also follow me. My Twitter account is at local24Brad. I cover COVID lately pretty much every day. So I'm on the beat, and I'm constantly tweeting any updates that we're getting for both Memphis and Western Tennessee.